Behind me, I have our new canning shelves. This is the man cave. It's kind of like the place where we chuck stuff, but it's the next room that we're making over to make it work better for us. Our house is huge. Lots of rooms had stuff in them when we moved in, and honestly, it's just been really difficult. Sometimes like you have to completely clear a room before you can even make it your own. And we've had 2 babies in 3 years since we moved here, and it just hasn't been a priority. However, the sliding door into this room, is that not a uterus? Like once you see that, you can't unsee that. So I thought I'd show you this room, which is not a room I usually show, partially because it's really crazy, but I wanted to show you the canning shelves. We have lots of antlers. I have garlic curing. There's skulls, so many skulls. Actually, look at these lineup of, this isn't even all Marius's bear skulls. Oh, I just tipped over on an antler. Skulls, bows, gun case, empty wine bottles, more garlic. We dry herbs up on that rack. What Marius just started working on, he took the trim off from around that window, and I don't know what he's doing with this stuff here. This is stuff that was just here. We've never used this computer ever. I've been looking for this cookie sheet. Guys, I had been wondering. I had 6 cookie sheets. I could not find one. So we took the trim off from around the window. These windows are single pane, not very good. So we do rigid insulation on them to help keep heat in. Otherwise we lose a lot of heat through this room, like unbelievable amount of heat. So the shelves are gonna go right over the window. And these shelves will be for like our dehydrator, our meat grinder, canning pots, cheese presses, that sort of thing. So he's building them accordingly. There's going to be just like a bench so we can use the dehydrator on that bench, because right now the dehydrator is right there. And yeah, this is chaos in here. And all his tools are here because he was working in here. You always know what room Marius is working on because you'll find his job site radio. Do you guys have these? This is Marius's second one now. His first one got run over by a skid steer at work, and the boss paid for a new one for him. So he uses this, so he listens to the radio with it, but often they're in places where they don't have good radio. So what he does is in the back here, he has a little iPod shuffle with his playlist on it, and he drilled a hole in there. So this is water protected here, so it can't get, how does this close? I'm having so much difficulties with this. There we go. So the iPod shuffle doesn't get destroyed, and then the cord goes around and plugs into the little auxiliary cord here. So when he's places where there isn't good radio, or he just is tired of listening to the radio, he uses that little iPod shuffle. It is Bluetooth, but he has an old phone, and it would take up a lot of space on a phone, and it would kill his phone battery to have it hooked up to Bluetooth. And then if his phone rang and he answered it, it would be playing on here, and that would drive him crazy. So this is kind of a low-tech way that he can listen to other music at work, or when he's working here, because he doesn't work off the farm anymore. I had wanted to get Marius to explain this, but it just keeps not working. So this is pine, and he said pine is very, very strong. And these are 1x2s and 1x2s here as well. So he's got 1x2s on the walls, and then these are 1x2s as well. And then every 2 feet, he's got them for support. He says this is an insanely strong shelf. That, like, as you can see, it's got hundreds of pounds of canning on it, and it's not bowed at all. So I'm still going to try and get him to explain this, but he's a carpenter and he says it's legit, so we're just going to call it legit. So on the top, I have jars. And on the bottom, I have jars and canning pots and such too. I do have more unopened canning jars in our mudroom. I'm just leaving them there because until this room is more organized, I don't need to bring more stuff into here. I guess, do we go top to bottom, left to right, right to left? We'll just start where we are. So here we have canned raspberries, and these are canned in their own juices. So how I did these is I mixed the raspberries, they're strawberries, not raspberries. I mixed strawberries with sugar, let them sit, packed them in jars and canned them. They do have a bit of sugar at the bottom. It's not a legit recipe, it's kind of a made up thing, but they're really delicious. The syrup is very thick because there's no added water. This is corn and black bean salsa that we made last year. There's some corn and black bean salsa from 2018. I put it right there so that we used it first. This area, this shelf right here is all things that either there's only one of because we were given it, like these candied jalapenos that were made this year, or it's something that's older, like here's some jam, fig jam from 2017. You know, here's some spicy pickled beans from 2017, huckleberry syrup from 2019. Things that need to be used first. So they're right here. So they're the first things I see when I walk in. So it kind of sparks my brain a bit. So it's kind of like jam, salsa, applesauce, a bit of fish. This shelf here is all applesauce from 2020. Guys, there's like 70 quarts of applesauce and I don't even remember making this much applesauce. Like pregnancy brain or something? I don't know. These are the last of our 2020 canned peaches, so we'll use them first. Then we have some raspberry pie filling, which I made with Pomonas. It's not the prettiest, but it is tasty. Blueberry pie filling. And then these are just raspberries canned in syrup, and we really like these. And then these sort of things, like any fruit that we can. The syrup, I do like a light to medium syrup. And we use this syrup as a drink with soda water or in iced tea or lemonade, and it's fun. We don't buy a lot of drinks, so it's a fun treat drink my kids like. So those are all 2021 canned peaches or pie filling. Any peaches that were kind of softer or had blemishes and such, we made those into pie filling. More 21 peaches, and there's a couple pie filling there. More peaches. We canned a lot of peaches. Okay, more salsa. We made so much salsa last year. We're not making any this year. This is pie filling, and these are some of the jars. I think it's applesauce. You know, you think you'll know what it is, but you don't. Apple pie filling. We'll be making that again in a couple of weeks, although this was made with clear gel, and clear gel price went through the roof. So I'm going to be making it with Pomonas. There is Pomona's pie filling recipes on their website, but roughly it works out to like 2 gallons of fruit. And it's only like 1 tablespoon of Pomonas. So it's quite frugal. It doesn't use a pile of Pomonas. Smoked fish. Oh, there's some more salsa. Wow, we made a lot of salsa. Oh, this is antipasta that Marius did earlier this year because that's 21. It says smoked salmon that we've already canned. This is smoked trout from last year. Smoked salmon, smoked trout. Oh, and just some regular trout. So we didn't do a lot of canned salmon because we knew we already had a bunch to use up. This is sour cherry jelly from our trees. Such a beautiful color. Such a beautiful color. Some 2020 strawberry jam, more strawberry jam. I took the sour cherries that were still in our freezer from last year, being ready to made into jam. I made them into jam earlier this year. I also cleared out the fridge of some freezer, and with some rhubarb that I just harvested and made a blackberry rhubarb jam. Those are more empty jars. Here we have raspberry jam, Saskatoon jelly, apple butter, sour cherry jelly, This is a raspberry peach jam, kind of like Halfers. It's so good. Plain canned tomatoes. We don't use a lot of canned tomatoes. Marius actually gets heartburn so much from tomatoes that we just don't make a lot with them. So I think I'm not canning tomatoes this year unless I come across an amazing deal. More peaches we can this year. And then these are different beans that I do. These are like a baked bean, and these are just plain beans and refried beans. You have to mash them after you fry them, after you can them. The last of our canned potatoes, these are definitely one we're doing again. They're just like boiled potatoes, so convenient. And some canned meat. Yesterday we had that for lunch. So I sauteed onion and garlic, both from the garden, and some butter from Clover. And then I added in a can of potatoes with their liquid can of beef stew meat with its juices as well. Simmered that together for a minute, and then I added in dried thyme. And then I mixed a little bit of cornstarch and water, mixed it in to thicken it up because it was definitely more like a stew than a soup. Then Freya picked me some kale. I chopped that up, stirred it in, and then turned off the heat and just let it sit. We like our kale to still have a bit of a bite to it. We had that with some sourdough drop biscuits and like sourdough discard drop biscuits. That one's on my site. I'll link it. With freshly harvested honey and strawberry jam and homemade Gouda. Most of our meals these days, it's easier to count the things we didn't grow, or like even if we didn't grow them, we knew who grew them. It's easier to count the things we didn't than the things we did. And that's pretty wild. It's that lovely time of year and it just feels pretty amazing and so satisfying. So there was a few things I meant to show you, but then I ended up feeding them to the pigs before I could show you. There was a peach chutney, a curry peach chutney. We don't love curry that much. We don't really like chutney, so why I thought I should make a curry peach chutney. I don't know. It was from 2014, and Marius is like, it's not bad. We should use that. I was like, Marius, if we've had it since 2014 and we don't like it still, we're still not gonna like it, and the pigs can enjoy this now. And there was something else from 2012, and he's like, it's fine. It's still safe. And I was like, I'm not worried about that. I just feel like if we've had this for 9 years, and we're still not using it and can't bring ourselves to use it, I think the pigs can enjoy it at this point. Over the years, there's definitely been some things that I've canned, like cauliflower. Have you guys ever had canned cauliflower? Just like, not like pickled, just like canned cauliflower. It's weird. And then I tried mashing it with potatoes because like, they won't know what's in there. They knew it was in there. There's always some things over the years that like you feel like it's a good idea to can, but then turns out it's not. So we've definitely honed in on what we like versus what we don't, what's worth our time, what's not worth our time. If I can't get a good deal on tomatoes, I don't. One thing that I haven't done in a long time is dried kale. And I think one of the reasons why I didn't like dried kale is that when we had it, it was dried on a higher temperature and it kind of ended up like hay. So I dried this kale on a low temperature, like how you would do herbs. So it still smells really fresh, and I'm excited to see how that goes for putting in soups and that sort of thing this winter.